Welcome to From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked.
Hello and welcome to From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked with attorney Maria T. Santi, founder and managing partner of the Health and Medicine Law Firm. Maria and the team are focused on providing exceptional legal services with efficiency, accuracy, attention to detail, and a very high work ethic. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is When Insurance Says No, How to Navigate Denials and Secure the Care You Need. Maria, welcome back. Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
So we started talking about this in our previous episode, and we're going to flesh it out even more today. Many patients are facing denials of care through their private insurance plans. Can you explain why these denials happen?
They happen for a lot of reasons. There could be no coverage or a lapse in coverage or pending payments where premiums haven't been credited. There could be some kind of exclusion under a policy. There could be, as I said in the last episode, we've seen AI where a lot of denials are coming through. There are many other reasons because the insurance company deemed something not medically necessary, or they decide it's experimental or investigational. Sometimes another thing that happens is they like to get technical with coding issues, which has nothing to do with a patient that has the policy. Like that's typically something that comes from a hospital or a doctor or a medical provider. But if a code is used incorrectly, they will go ahead and say, oh, you used the wrong code, but that has nothing to do with the patient. So that's one of the ones that frustrates me the most.
Is it all just a numbers game for them? Is it just is that really what it boils down to?
Well, I guess that's what the majority says when they're analyzing why health insurance companies deny claims, or any insurance company for that matter. That's what people think, that it's profit over people many times, and they're just looking at their bottom line. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that seems to be the general consensus.
Well, I don't have to toe a company line, so I'll just say, yeah, I think it's true. What rights do patients have when their private insurance denies coverage for a medical procedure or treatment that they need?
Okay, so there's appeal rights. But one of the things that a patient would first need to look at is what type of policy do I have? Because so if somebody has Medicaid or Medicare, there's different rules for appeals. So let's just say somebody has Medicaid or Medicare, they would have to go through 2 appeals saying, I don't agree with this denial because X, Y, and Z. Then they have to go to, in Medicare, 2 more levels. And Medicare actually requires a hearing, and then the Medicare council. So Medicare is like the worst as far as doing appeals. It's very burdensome when something gets denied. When you have just commercial insurance, either through your employer or through the marketplace, you have appeal rights. Typically, you have to do 2 appeals, and then those are internal appeals. So basically, you're just asking the health insurance company to reconsider their denial, and you have to give them all the reasons why. If you have an employer plan, it's subject to a federal law, and that is important to know. Like, a lot of patients don't know this. I just want to mention this. They'll write a letter, a 1-page, and say, I think you should approve this because I think you're wrong because 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Well, when you have those employer-sponsored plans, that's not enough, because if you have to sue them later, there's not going to be anything for a judge to look at on why your medical treatment should have gotten approved. So that's really important during the appeals process. As far as like the commercial plans, that if you get it through the marketplace, you can do 1 or 2 appeals, but then you'll still have the right to get more information if you have to take legal action later. And then what these types of policies also offer at the end is an external review, where you can get somebody outside the insurance company to take a look and say whether or not they agree with the health insurance company did. But what I find there also is some patients don't give enough supporting documentation. And in the end, that could be something that goes against you in the end, because an external review basically is like the final decision where the insurance company would have to it's mandatory for the insurance company to follow whatever the final decision was.
And all of these steps you just outlined, is that all before someone hires you?
It depends on the person. It's something that can be done. Yes, you don't need an attorney to do that. You can do that on your own. but we can also, we help people with appeals as well if they choose to hire an attorney to help, but you don't need an attorney. There's also some patient advocacy organizations out there that help with appeals. So yeah, that typically would be something, if they don't hire an attorney, that they would do on their own prior to coming to our firm.
So then they go through that process, they still get denied, and then they go, all right, I need Maria. They come to you, and how does that process work? What kind of questions do you start with, and how do you sort of like address the issues of a case to figure out what the next best steps are?
So the first thing we need to look at is, okay, why did they deny this? So there's usually a denial letter, and in that denial letter, it'll have all the reasons why, the basis. Hopefully they'll cite to the insurance policy and tell you exactly why they denied the services. Then we would need to look at, obviously, I've talked about this before, what type of policy is this? Because just because you have, let's say, Blue Cross Blue Shield or you have United Healthcare doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually the insurance company, because this is another thing that makes healthcare more complicated, is you have third-party administrators that are processing all these claims. So sometimes it's not even them that either made the decision or that actually pays the benefits. So it can get really confusing. So that's really important, just to figure out, okay, why was it denied? What type of policy is this? And then we kind of have the framework of, okay, well, can we take legal action or not? We need to look, are there damages? Like, did you get medical bills because of this that we can recover? Or is there pre-authorization that was denied where you still need treatment and you haven't been able to get treatment, and now your treatment or medications are delayed because the health insurance company denied these services? So those are the four main things, or three or four main things that we look at. And then once we have all of that clear, then we have to see, well, were appeals done? If appeals were done, then if the patient wants to take legal action, the next step would then be to take legal action against the health insurance company to either get medical bills that were not paid covered, or to get the treatment or the medication that was denied by the health insurance company.
How often, roughly, would you say that the appeals process works out favorably for the patient?
Not very often, honestly.
Really?
I would say maybe 10 to 15%. Yeah, it gets overturned. It is very low. The thing to consider, though, is some people don't even go through the appeals. Like, they just stop and they don't even fight, which I don't know why people would do that. I guess it's not important enough, but it's if you do the appeals, yeah, it's not very often, unfortunately, that they overturn the denials. I mean, I don't know why that is, but when we do overturn it, it's a happy day.
Yeah.
But when it's not, then it's like, okay, let's just continue the fight. But I think that's why the health insurance companies do that, is because they know that once they deny this, a lot of people are just going to give up.
It's a very good point. That's a very good point. And you mentioned the AI thing, which I think is interesting, because obviously there's a lot of pros and cons to AI. Some of the pros are in the medical field of helping to diagnose diseases and things like that. These kind of situations, you don't like to see robots or say robots, that sounds weird, but like large language models and whatnot deciding the fate of someone's insurance claim. Is it just the appeals process, or after, like, an AI agent might say no, can you first go take another route and say, hey, can a human look at this and reconsider this? Or is that really part of the appeals process?
Well, I think we wouldn't even know really if AI was used when these
they don't
things
have to disclose that.
No, they don't disclose.
Oh, interesting.
I would say, because I think it's most like for the claims themselves, they probably have like a data set, approve this and deny this.
Yep.
But you don't know, like, you wouldn't know that they did that. There's nothing really, unless you sue them and then start asking questions.
Wow, that's kind of crazy to think that you don't even have access to that information unless you sue them.
Yep. That's another thing with this, is it's all very hidden. It's even what they pay, they don't ever disclose what the allowable amounts are. Like, you never know what they're going to pay.
Yeah, not very transparent. That's for sure.
Not at all.
So how do you, as a health and medicine law attorney, advocate for patients who are facing insurance denials? What kind of evidence, what kind of legal arguments do you use in these cases to help your clients?
From the beginning, if the patient hires me to do the appeals, so that's the first presentation, right, to the health insurance company. So we make sure that we get all the backup information we need. We get medical records, medical information, letters from doctors. We get as much evidence as we have already to say, hey, you need to approve this, so that if they do deny it after we show them, like, this is like, there's no reason for denying this. Now the case is a stronger case because we already gave you everything. Now you're just acting in bad faith when you continue to deny it, make the patient continue to appeal. And then ultimately we get to the legal action. So I say that because we start with a very strong footing first. And then once we get to legal action, we've already done everything. So now we advocate very strongly, and we prepare the lawsuit. We say, that you denied this for all these reasons. We think you're wrong. The policy covers it. This is a very obviously simple summary.
Right. Yeah.
But
I know every case is very nuanced.
Very, very much. And then essentially we just file the lawsuit, and then we make them have to explain everything in court and give us the reasons why they're actually denying this. And we get to do discovery as well to find out why they continued denying the services. And when we find out, for example, it's just a technicality, then we fight even harder, because what's the purpose of health insurance? To cover health and medical services, treatment. So when you're giving me a technicality, I have a patient paying for health insurance. That's just something that we fight strongly to show there's coverage here. Like, stop being so narrow-minded. That's not the point of the health insurance policy that you gave this patient. And then we just really work with the doctors, with the patient, and we just fight to the end if we have to, honestly.
Do these cases go to juries? Does it work does that happen?
So yes, it depends on the type of case. So remember what I said before about employer plans. So employer-sponsored plans will fall under federal law. So those are bench trials. You don't get a jury in those cases, which is also unfortunate. That law is not very fair, but that'll be another episode. And then if you sue in state court, and depending on the type of policy, so commercial policies that are marketplace, that you will get a jury. So you will have your day in court if necessary to present this in front of a jury and a judge.
Are there mediation arbitration situations too, like in other areas of law, or where you can kind of come to where you can kind of settle, if you will, or make it happen before it goes into anything more like a trial?
Yes. So when litigation is commenced, there usually is a requirement to attend mediation in every case, at least in Florida. And then arbitration, depending on the policy, you don't really see that very much in a regular health insurance policy. You might see that like in a short-term or limited health insurance policy where they require arbitration, but it is possible. But I would say the majority is you're going to get, at some point, if you take legal action, you're going to have to go to a mediation.
Okay. And for anybody listening who might be dealing with insurance denials and are frustrated, confused, don't know where to turn, what is your best piece of advice for them? What kind of resources should they start with to try to get their case moving forward, sort of help ease their mind a little bit? What's your advice?
I would say to look out for patient resources that are available online. I can't think off of the top of my head right now what those are exactly, but there are some patient advocacy organizations that'll give you summaries of what you can do, like NHelp is one of them, I believe. There are also, some people don't know this, health insurance companies do have people that are in-house that deal with more complex cases. So let's say if you're dealing with a complex medical issue, you can have a case manager assigned within the health insurance company. You just have to make the phone call. So I would say, don't just sit behind a screen, actually call and try to find those advocates first within the health insurance company. Then second, through the national organizations that are out there. And hopefully I'll put together some kind of resource pamphlet so I could post it somewhere later on.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah. So I didn't realize that. So you can call and plead your case, and perhaps, before a true appeals process, you might be able to get some headway with a phone call.
Well, you have to, that you have to get the right person. It would be like
Mm.
some kind of case manager, and that's frustrating in itself. But it is available, and also peer-to-peer reviews with the doctor. So your doctor is very important in this process. So it's always great to get along with your doctor because they are the ones that, before you even do an appeal, they're already on the phone with the insurance company's medical director. It's called a peer-to-peer review. And they go over all the medical parts of everything. And a lot of times things do get resolved there.
Oh, wow. Okay. So your doctor works on your behalf to try to get
Yes.
everything finalized before you have to go through the legal process.
Yes.
And is that, I'm guessing I know the answer to this, but there's probably not a high percentage that works.
Well, I would say no, there is a higher percentage of that
Okay.
because you're speaking doctor to doctor. That's also sometimes doctors do appeals also before the legal process, but it's more of an internal thing where it's more of a logistics issue where if it doesn't get approved, it's maybe they weren't able to talk or they put the wrong person on the line. Like you might have a gynecologist talking to heart surgeon, which happens sometimes. So when the health insurance company is putting somebody like that to discuss a patient's care, I mean, I would say that falls below the standard of care, but they do that. So in those cases, I mean, a lot of times it does get denied and then it goes to the next level, but it is something that gets resolution if you have the right person on the other side.
Right. Yeah, that's always key, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked with Maria T. Santi. To connect with me, Maria and the team, head to healthandmedicinelawfirm.com and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Maria, it's always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for your time.
And great talking with you too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.